CSB head baseball coach Bill Kernen getting ready for the opening of the 2012 season against Kansas State. This weekend in Hartfield, Coach, talk about this Kansas State squad coming in. This is a tournament team from last year, and you guys had some good battles with them last season, both here and in Manhattan, Kansas. So talk about their team this year and what they bring to the table this weekend.
Yeah, they're a quality program and have been for a long time. They were a playoff team last year. We had trouble with them. We had one game that we beat them there that we had to have Medina throw 143 pitches in relief. And
30-mile-an-hour winds blowing out of the ballpark. I remember that one,
yeah. So very difficult team for us and a lot of people last year. They run at every opportunity. If they didn't lead the nation in stolen bases last year, I know they were very, very high. They had like 140 stolen bases as a team. So that's one of their philosophies. So we have to stop the running game. We feel pretty confident about doing that with our left-handed pitchers. So we think that'll be something that'll be good. They've also lost some people. They lost their two best weekend starters. They lost two high draft, their third baseman and one of their outfielders that were great hitters and defensive guys they lost. So they have a little bit of the same issues as we do to deal with. But they bring some veteran guys back in the middle infield and their catcher and some of their pitching. So we know it'll be a real stiff test.
Let's talk about your rotation this weekend. You've got a guy coming out going to start their series on Saturday. Threw about 15 innings last year. You got another guy going to start on Sunday who was a closer last year is going to start. So already off the bat, you talked about replacing all that pitching, but you're going with guys that are going to be pretty green to the starting role.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe it's my entire coaching philosophy and history is that I really like to work with guys that were not necessarily the top heralded high round draft guys out of junior college and high school. And I've always had better success with those kind of guys. Two of the hardest guys I've ever had to coach were first round drafts. There's a whole different mix that happens there with the way you treat them and the way sometimes for them to buy into a team concept is sometimes more difficult because they have their mind on maybe what's going to happen to them beyond college. So I've always had a little more success with this kind of guy that's out trying to prove something, and they're really, really happy to be here. They're talented. They're good. Yeah. The kid that's going to start for us won the state championship game last year, so It's not like they haven't done anything, but the last time I had let's put it this way, I'll try to, hopefully this is the opposite of a jinx. Maybe this is like a good thing. The last time I had a guy that did this was Kenny Condrina, a guy that ended up winning 25 games for me in 2 years and struck out over 300 guys with a split finger and an 84-mile-an-hour fastball that was out of Cyprus as a JC guy that had thrown 15 innings. So this guy, I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on him, but it does happen. The funny thing is, 2 years after that, every guy that I talked to, oh yeah, we loved him. We really liked him. We just didn't have a scholarship open at that time.
Yeah, right.
So you're going to see some of these guys in a couple of years from now, like with Medina and Rodriguez and some of those guys. They proved themselves, and everybody wanted McCarthy. McCarthy couldn't walk on at Davis out of high school.
Right.
So we kind of pride ourselves in taking those kind of guys and having them come up to speed and prove themselves and prove everybody else wrong while they're here.
You had to plug in a couple spots in the lineup of guys you lost last year, but you have a couple nice new additions to this program. Jody Hines is going to be your starting right fielder. Really a high school kid, but has a lot of speed and a good arm in right field, and it seems like he's going to fit well into your team.
He's got the right mentality for this program. He's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's always been told he's not big enough and all these things. The kid was a wide receiver on the 10th ranked high school football team in the country last year. Can run and he's tough. I couldn't care less what his size is. I mean, they said the same thing about Dustin Pedroia. They say the same thing about Eckstein. All these different guys. Sometimes those kind of guys, particularly in college, they have some things to be able to tell people. And he's got talent. I mean, he can hit and he can run. Yeah. So it isn't that he doesn't have the tools. It's just that sometimes the stereotypes, if a guy doesn't fit into them, those are the kind of guys that we like to get.
Well, and you have a wide receiver in right field. You have a former running back in center. Too bad Younger wasn't a quarterback. You could have had a little football team on the side going too.
Yeah, but the thing about Younger is from his freshman to sophomore year, what a gigantic improvement he made defensively. I still have a picture in my mind of that ball he caught at UCLA that night over his head.
Yep.
That he wouldn't have caught the year before that. So he gives us probably. I mean, there aren't very many left fielders that are as good as Kevin Younger is defensively. So we feel very good about our outfield.
And finally, you guys start the season 7 games in a row at home. Obviously, Kansas State, 1 against Fresno State, UC Davis as well. A nice, I guess, tough stretch to start this season off in the beginning of the year.
Right, and then right after that, UNLV on the road, who's much improved with the new coaching staff that came in a couple of years ago. So, it's a nice start with regard to being tested, which is what I always like, and then we have some other things down the road that we think will really test us in our schedule. I think it's ranked 50th with intended strength or something like that, which is about what last year's was. And we have to have that as an independent, because if our record's really good, it has to also be against quality opponent.
Hey!